Welcome to another edition of the Sportswire Spotlight. I'm Will Kaderli, Dylan Garner joining as always. This week we are talking track at Tucker High School with a previous state championship holder, Mariah Jameson, and her head coach. We've got Annette Sirica. Guys, I appreciate you being part of the Sportswire Spotlight.
Thank you for having us.
You got it. Let's go in reverse order because something pretty cool just happened just a few days ago. You signing and deciding to take your talents from the track here at Tucker and moving them to the collegiate level at Temple. Why Temple? Tell me about that decision and how awesome it was to finally make it official.
Yeah, I think, there was a lot of schools that I was considering in my recruiting process. And when I took my visit to Temple, I just kind of felt like home. I loved the urban environment. I loved that I knew that I could contribute something to the team pretty quickly. And I think that knowing that I'm of value to a team is something that's really important to me, knowing that I can add something. And it just felt like a home away from home. I loved the urban environment. I loved how it's kind of like VCU, but
right.
Philadelphia.
Let's say it's hard to go wrong. Like the heart of Philly, that's got to be a pretty cool place. When you visited for the first time, did you just feel like this is a cool place to be?
Yeah, definitely. And the team definitely made it feel like that too. The girls were all super friendly. I have a really good relationship with the coach, so that's nice too.
Awesome. 200 and 400. Let's go all the way back because, I used to run track way back in the day. We had a gravel track and half-inch spikes. I won't get deep into that. But on the road, we would PR, though, because they had the synthetic track there. But I did run the 200, and I ran the 400, and they're so different for people who don't understand track to the casual sports fan. Tell us about the difference between running the 2 and the 4, and how did you find that niche? How were you at what moment were you like, this is mine, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I think it's crazy to me to think about because I used to run the 100. I didn't even touch the 2. I was a strictly short sprinter. I kind of died around my warm-up lap, before practice every day. So when I did open up in the 4, which was last year, it was kind of just a new experience. It was new to push myself to be so uncomfortable in a race, but know that I could kick it out. It was a different type of strength that I had to uncover. But after uncovering it, I just felt so much more accomplished and felt a so much stronger athlete. So the difference between the 2 and the 4 for me, I think it's a lot of mindset. So the 2 is just it's so quick that you have to get around that curve and jet down the straightaway as fast as possible.
Right.
And I'm trying now especially to kind of translate some of my aggressiveness from the 2 into the 4. Because I do kind of get intimidated sometimes still and think, I still have another 200 to go.
Uh-oh, here comes the wall, right?
Yeah. So just kind of being aggressive and not being intimidated. It's a lap. You're going to get around it. The faster, the better.
And 200 champion last year, 400 state runner-up. So pretty impressive.
And
numbers.
Coach, I wanted to ask you kind of a similar question. You've been doing this for a long time. You dealt with probably countless number of athletes and had to find out, hey, someone comes into a track program and says, hey, I want to run. And then you have to figure out, what 14 events do I put them in? What kind of things do you look at and say, hey, this person might be better. She starts in the 100, right? She might actually function better going a little bit farther in the 2 and 4. Or, hey, this person could be a hurdler instead, and maybe they're a little bit better. What are the things you look for when you're kind of trying to identify people and maximize their kind of potential?
Well, first of all, most of the people who come on the track team think they're sprinters.
Yeah.
So they're not.
Believe it or not.
We look a lot at their stride frequency. The physical things we look for are stride frequency, raw speed, things like that, the basic talent things. But the biggest thing we look for, and it was a factor with Mariah, we needed a 400 runner. Yeah. And usually when you mention the 400 sprinters, you get something like, I'm not touching that.
No way.
No way. And she was like, okay, I'll move up to the mid-distance group and train. I'm willing to give it a go. Can I still run the 200? Sure. Occasionally the 100? Yes. She qualified for state already in that too. But we look for kind of a mental mindset of positive attitude, can do it, and a 400 runner can be trained. 100 runners are born.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
that was nicely put.
Yeah, and I was going to say, like, watching, I mentioned before, I used to cover track for the Times-Dispatch. I used to cover Kendra and some people like that used to be, star here. And watching the 400, it's one of those middle races where it's just like, I get overwhelmed watching anyone run track because it was never my thing. But, like, watching someone run a 400, it's like, because it's a 100, a 55, or a 100, you are going max speed as hard as you can, right?
It's a tweener race.
Once you start getting that 1-2 levels up, you still have to have that like sprinting speed.
Yes.
But there's this like other part of it where it's like, what percentage of your speed can you go and maintain it the entire time, right? And it's like the 400, 500, 800 are these like middle where it's like you're either a sprinter that has stamina or a long distance runner that can sprint, you know?
You can't be both. Normally.
Yeah, and so it always feels like, was that how it was the first few times you ran? Did it just feel like, how am I supposed to like pace myself properly when I'm also trying to sprint?
Yeah, I think when I started running the 400 is when I really started to think about race strategy. Because the 2, it's just like you just run as hard as you can and hope that you make it there first. But the 4, if I just like took off, it just wouldn't turn out good for me. So kind of like figuring out, like you said, what percentage to get to that first 200 mark and then how to bring it home strong and maintain form. That was a big thing for me to feel confident going into that race.
It's kind of funny because the NFL draft just ended, and Coach Annette, you just said you've been doing this for 23 years, so you kind of know the lay of the land. Teams draft for need in the NFL draft, and you said we have a need at 400 at the 400 meter level. That being said, just as a casual fan, you watch football, you watch basketball, you kind of get a sense of what practice is like. Okay, they run plays, they do shooting drills if it's basketball, practice different defenses. To the casual fan out there, how do you get kids ready to run a certain race? What is practice actually like on the track?
Well, in our program, we're fortunate that we have 7 coaches and 7 very good coaches. And we have some coaches with a lot of experience. Our mid-distance coach, the group that Mariah works with, is coached by Greg Ford. He has been a head coach at a junior college in Florida, as well as being a coach at Highland Springs. Nice. He brings a wealth of experience. That type of training is a combination of speed work plus some long endurance work, some 500 to 800, possibly some thousands. One of their workouts, I think, was, what did you do, like 20 times 200 one day or something like that? And that's how their group trains. Now, our sprinters, they're not going to do that. We have a hurdle coach and a jumps coach. The hurdlers do something completely different. They will work on flexibility, then they'll work on running their workout over the hurdles. Like if they're doing 300s or 400s, part of that will be hurdles. Our sprint area, jumps area, they're going to work on flexibility, they're going to work on dynamics, they're going to work on plyometrics, then they're going to focus on speed. They're going to work on shorter distances, doing them faster.
Yeah. You've done it for 23 years. You've seen so much talent. Yes, yeah. and that's only here. But Dylan brought up a good point earlier about, like, when did you knew what you needed? When did you know Mariah could actually not only hack it, but, so far this year she hasn't lost.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So how did you know that she was going to have this kind of success?
We knew pretty early on. She could run a very good 100. But just seeing how she ran the 100, like she could finish 100 and she could do it all again.
She's still going.
She can still go.
You can stop now.
The other reason that we thought she would be good, Mariah is exceptionally coachable. Mm-hmm. And most of our athletes, fortunately, are. But sometimes when you get a very high-level athlete, that coachability aspect, sometimes it's good and sometimes, not as good. Mm-hmm. She is exceptionally coachable. We're able to work with her. We're able to say, okay, we're going to take you to a whole different type of training and have her just go with the flow, go along with it. So it was not only a talent that, my gosh, she's got tremendous speed. She appears to have some endurance, and she's got a great mindset. Let's go with that.
Speaking of the mindset and coachability, that's also something that can be attributed into the classroom, and you're part of that terrific program that's run here at J.R. Tucker, part of the ACA program. You're actually getting an associate's degree before you get your gen ed, so to say, a degree from Tucker. Walk us through that process. How do you balance scholastically what you're doing in the classroom with such a robust program as ACA is with your track and field results?
I think they're both kind of reflected. So I think my performance in the classroom reflects to my performance on the track. I think when I feel good in both environments, that just really like shows. So knowing that I can apply myself in the classroom, knowing that I'm investing in myself in multiple different ways, because on the track I ask a lot. I ask my body to show up for me, so I have to show up for my body. And that kind of goes with, having a good mindset in the classroom, getting enough sleep so I can work in the classroom and then work on the track. So just knowing that those two go hand in hand, and I can't really have good balance or be great at one if I'm not great at the other.
Gotcha. That didn't stop there. So it's not just ACA, and it's not just track, and it's not just finishing first, and it's not just state championships. If you had any more time, you'd volunteer. Oh, wait, you do. Tell us about your volunteer program.
Yeah, so I did an unpaid internship with the Inner Work Center, which is basically like a program where they offer different types of classes and like workshops to help you with like mindfulness. And they're geared towards all different kinds of things and all different ages. So I kind of worked with getting those things out to the public. So I worked with like public calendars and advertising for those programs to make people more aware. Because I think that, for me, mindfulness and my mental health has been a big factor in running track, and kind of knowing how to support myself. Because I think that, we're already at competition with seven other girls on the line. So if I'm at competition with myself as well, like mentally, then I'm giving them the upper hand, and that's not something that I necessarily want to do because I want to win. But just kind of getting myself to a place where I acknowledge myself as a competitor and giving myself as much credit as I give to my competitors, I think that's been a big thing for me. So I think that's why everything kind of goes hand in hand. It seems like a lot, but they all kind of feed into each other. So.
Yeah, and May, great time to bring it up. May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if y'all saw, but it really is a crucial time. It's one of those things you do have to just like actively take a step back and think about this and be like, all right, am I in the right headspace for everything that I do? And that applies to every single person, right? And an athlete that can't focus and can't keep their mindset correct, it's just not going to work. And I know one of the best sprinters or people in your kind of niche that I covered was Britton Wilson from Mills Godwin. She went on to be a national champion. Yeah, she's like, trying to compete for the Olympics and stuff now. But, she had the coachability, she had the talent, and then she got to Arkansas, and I think she had a struggle mentally. Like she went vocal about having to develop herself mentally because the physical was there. There's not a lot to work on. She's a 400 hurdles champion. Yeah, right. But I think mentally was where she wanted to adapt. And it's a really important thing to have an open discussion about nowadays, that maybe athletes in the past kept that back and it maybe held them back a little bit, either, socially or in their athletics. So it's always good for me when people do value that.
Sure. And mindfulness is half the battle in track anyway. It's not just, right? It's not just the athletic. But could you, this is going to sound horrible, could you use your powers for evil? Is there anything you do?
Psychic
You're
damage.
At the starting blocks, right? Yeah, psychic damage. Is there anything you can do to freak out the competition next to you? Is there anything you do, psychological war games kind of thing?
I think that there's definitely some tactics. I wouldn't say that I feed into them, but the leg slapping and the jumping up and down is always a nice intimidator. But I usually try to stay away from that unless I'm feeling really good that day.
I was about to say, there's the people in basketball. Do you know we're going to watch a basketball game, like a college basketball game, and they slap the court, and I'm going to defend you, and then it looks really cool if you're good, and then if you get burned, it looks way worse. So I think you do have to be there's a confidence, but there's a gap where there's a barrier where it's if you break that barrier, you got to know what you're getting into.
The leg slapping, how does that How does that intimidate someone next
It's loud.
to you in lane 2?
I don't know. It's
Those
just
athletes-
Your coach is like, I have no clue.
I don't know. I don't usually engage, but
Uh-oh, she's slapping her leg. She means business. Or like, this means nothing. This is so easy to her. She's just having fun. I'm scared. I used to like picture a portalette at the end of the race. So that's how I would.
Oh,
That's a
she's
pretty good way of
she's
doing it.
pretty focused in the blocks.
I would say.
You don't see a whole lot of posturing or.
Yeah.
She doesn't get into that, and people next to her can be carrying on, but
Yeah.
she's just getting in the blocks, getting her feet right,
Ready to roll.
not bothered by any of it.
Yeah, and that is a great, Teflon. It's like
Right.
it's a really important thing to have.
Well, also, when you get to senior year, it's one thing to be coachable, but then you kind of become a coach yourself, right? To the freshmen and the sophomores to help build this program. A program, by the way, I know we're just talking track right now, but I do have to mention this. Earlier this fall, J.R. Tucker qualified for states in cross country. So shout out to your long distance runners too,
Yes,
because that's a
definitely.
first for the school. So that was awesome. We were there at Pole Green for that. So that was a lot of fun.
That was.
But back to that, talk about have you become kind of like an associate coach, if you will, to some of the other kids?
Well, it's interesting because some of like my fellow teammates will ask me questions about myself with things that I feel like I'm not even that strong in. So like my teammates would ask me like, how are you so confident when you approach the track? And it was like, well, it's crazy that you think that because I feel scared.
I just don't show it. I slap my leg and scare the heck out of my opponents. That's right.
But it's really nice to see like how I perceive myself and how others perceive themselves. So I try to kind of help them just get to the place where they, deserve to be. So it's like we each spend countless hours on the track and do things off the track to help benefit our, career. So it's like I try to make them aware of that. I try to make them aware that your practice prepares you for success. And just to trust the process and to trust themselves. Like we only are as fast as we believe we are. Yeah. So if you believe that you're the fastest girl on that track, then go be the fastest girl on the track. Like nobody can tell you any different.
Nice.
And I believe y'all went to one of the national events for indoor this past season, and it was a 4x4. And for anyone who was like not sure on track, 4x4 is like the best event on earth. Like it's the most fun thing. It's always at the end, and it's like the environment watching a 4x4 is so fun. So I just wanted to say that. Go support track athletes, even if you go watch one event, go watch 4x4.
Yeah.
But
Relays
there's so
are
much
fun.
execution that goes on there. Obviously, all four of y'all have to be so physically gifted, right, already. But the technical execution part of that is so important. Can either of y'all walk through kind of like what it's like dialing in with four people have to do their jobs perfectly and what goes into like, hey, we're about to compete against the best people in the United States at this?
I would think the handoff is tough because that's
The
what I see
handoff,
you guys
yeah.
practice all
It's
the
always a
time.
handoff.
Actually, for the 4x4, the training is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a perfect handoff, but if you're not trained to run a 400,
That's a good
it doesn't
point.
matter.
Yeah.
The handoff is important, and they spend a lot of time working on handoffs to get them right. How to run the 400, especially with a couple of our girls that, one of them more recently came in the mix, is a sophomore, and she kind of was trying to figure out, okay, how do I run this thing, and what do I do? So a lot of it is for the younger people to learn how to run that 400. And they want to catch up if we're behind. They want to catch up right away, which may not always be the best tactic in a 400.
Right.
So it's kind of learning when to make your move, how to close the gap first, and then when to pass, because you want to pass when you know you're going to be able to pass and stay ahead.
Right.
So a lot of it is conversations with Mariah, conversations with the coaches. How do I run this? What should we do here? We know this particular team is going to run really strong third leg. Mm-hmm. We know that they lead off with their fastest girl, or whatever team we're running, the strategy can be adjusted, and sometimes even the lineup.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I do want to bring it back for the future, Mariah, and I'll let you, Coach, kind of brag on her. What can she do at Temple? And then I want to talk a little bit about Temple. But what do you think is the ceiling for Mariah at Temple?
I don't think there is one. We were thrilled that she chose Temple. She was recruited so many places, including University of Hawaii.
Oh, wow. How do you turn that down? I don't know. I could turn that down.
But
It's a little
when
far.
She said she felt like she could contribute immediately, Temple has an awesome program.
Yeah.
They're a very competitive D1 college. She can contribute immediately. She will walk into that program having done the summer work, having prepared all senior year. She doesn't have senioritis here. She's been working the whole year. She will be physically and mentally prepared. And I think that's going to give her an edge. Most kids coming into D1 programs will be too. I think hers is just that exceptional. She's going to be able to contribute right away.
We're getting a 2-minute warning here at Tucker. I think that's
It's
for
kind of like
class
our
change.
2-minute warning.
It is our 2-minute warning. You got to be hungry.
Absolutely.
You got to be
It's a really
hungry.
important
Speaking of being hungry, are you a cheesesteak fan?
Have you had a real Philly
Because
cheesesteak
if
yet?
you're
Is the
gonna-
question.
If
Yeah.
you're going to be at Temple University, you have to make a choice, and it's Geno's or it's Pat's.
Well, which one?
I don't know. I was going to ask you if
You
you had
don't-
a preference. Have you seen? I mean, you've seen
John,
Temple.
hold up
you've
one or
taken-
two.
Yeah, John knows
Geno's?
Geno's or Pat's. He's a Geno's.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't had a real Philly cheesesteak yet. I do have like a strict, boring like diet. But I do plan to splurge a little when I get there. So I'll let you guys
I was
know.
about to say, like, give us the
Off-season,
report.
You can have a one or two.
Give us the report, when you're easing in, like, you get to celebrate one thing, like try both, report back. Cause we have, like I said, one of our producers, we got some people back at the office, and everyone has their own opinion. It's like, the pizza places and whatnot, in other towns, like it's a crucial thing there. So
Word
you
of
gotta
warning,
experience
though.
it.
Whichever one you go to, you better be prepared.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever, you better be prepared, because otherwise they will kick you out of line. You have to know exactly what you want, and you don't want to go back to the beginning of the line, because usually the line's really large.
Okay.
From what I
I'll
understand.
rehearse before.
Yeah, so you need to know what kind of cheese. Is it the cheese whiz? That stuff that comes in the jar in the can,
See, I don't get that
which is
part.
delicious, even though it's not real.
Anyway, you're mentally
Whatever.
strong enough to deal with that situation.
You can
so
figure that out while you're getting first place finishes. I know you're not quite done here at Tucker. You got a couple. What can this team do as we wrap this up? But besides yourself, but Tucker's team has been terrific this year. Watching them through cross country, watching them through indoor polar bear, which is weird to. That's a weird season. But for the rest of spring, what do you guys got ahead?
Well, what we got this weekend is Dogwood Invitational. It is a multi-state, very selective meet. We are fortunate to get every relay that we entered was accepted.
That's awesome.
And we have 17 runners who qualified to go. After that, we have the Virginia Track Coaches Association Championship.
Right.
And that'll be at Louisa. And then we have our regional. We feel that we are in very good position to do really well in our region. We have scoring ability in just about all areas. We developed a pretty good 300-meter hurdle contingent, boys and girls. Our distance runners are as strong as ever. Our sprinters are coming along. We've got sprinters who've been scoring all season. And, of course, we've got a great mid-distance program.
Yeah, 200, 400's locked up.
200, 400, 800. So we're looking for really good things in regional and some state qualifications.
We won
to
with
come
sheer
out of that.
numbers. Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We won with sheer numbers at Simsbury High School.
Yeah.
We just overpowered them with numbers. We weren't necessarily better than everyone. We had some great runners, but we weren't necessarily better.
Numbers matter.
Speaking of numbers, 4.3 GPA going into Temple, and you're not just going to be running. Have you thought about what you're going to study?
Absolutely. I'm going to study psychology with plans of being a
Awesome.
sports
Perfect.
psychologist. Just, getting back to training our mind as much as we're training our body, because that's so important. But yeah.
That's great to hear. And, for yourself and your team, good luck at region. I think I'm going to have to go to regions this year. Do you know
come on with
where's
me.
the
Grab
region
a s-
championship
Grab
at this
a
year?
second camera.
Yeah.
I
Where
think
is
it's
regional
It's
championship?
at Hermitage.
Hermitage?
On the
Oh, that's
16th
far
and the
away.
18th.
There we go.
So far. But
Yeah.
we will be there in some form, but good luck to you on your
you.
individual, hunting another state championship, and obviously the relays, everyone else on the team, because obviously it's been a really great year for all you guys. So good luck with everything.
And great
Thank
luck
you.
Heading on up to Temple, both
Yeah.
in the classroom and on the track.
Thank you so much.
You got it. We appreciate you guys being part of the Sportswire Spotlight today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was a great conversation. I think when we had talked about possible guests, we had seen Mariah's, amazing accomplishments, and then
Right.
we got to learn today about so much more she's got going on. And good luck to them, the Tigers, Mariah, and everything else they got going on.
I mean, it sounds like Temple got a good one, and it was. I thought it was kind of cool talking to Coach Annette, and she was talking about how she's really happy that she chose Temple. Imagine being a high school athlete and you have an offer sitting right in front of you to go to the University of Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
you turn it down to go to Philly for cheesesteaks and Temple. Come on.
We will demand a report
Yes.
from her cheesesteak though.
Yes.
One day.
And the Tucker Track program, I mentioned signing day right off the bat. They had, I think, 5, 6, maybe even 7 track stars that were signing. So Tucker Track is on the up and up. And signing day in general has been really cool. I mean, it used to be very narrow, limited to, football. Early signing day happened, and then you had the actual national signing day. And now ADs are like, let's make this more of a celebration for all the sports at the same time. So this past week, you can see it on the latest edition of Sportswire. We've gone to 4 different schools, and they weren't the only ones holding them. Those are the ones we got to.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're having 28, 25, 16 here, 17 there of kids signing everywhere from tennis to track to football to basketball, lacrosse, you name it. It's pretty sweet, and it hits home because I'm looking at like, okay, kids going to college next year herself, and seeing there's so much. It's not just the talent of the kids and the offer that they get from these schools to get a full ride. They get a free education. There's so much money that Henrico County student athletes are getting because of what they do, because of people like Mariah and what they do on the track, but also what they do in the classroom. Her being part of the ACA program, I mean, you can't have a better head start going into college than being part of ACA.
Exactly. Yeah.
So some other things on tap. If you watch the latest show, Godwin Freeman, instant classic baseball game. We were at Godwin. You can check out an earlier Sportswire Spotlight we had with Hank Pearsall. He was a hero again. Hit a 3-run bomb in the 8th inning to win against Freeman.
Well, now I can be mad about it since I'm not in Godwin's building.
Right. And I was worried that we were giving him like the jinx because it was right after that.
Kind of hyping it up, yeah.
They lost to Glen Allen. Now the jinx is over because the last 2 times I've gone out to cover Godwin baseball, they've won both. One of them was against Deep Run, who got a huge win for Class 6 because playoffs are approaching. They got a really big win against Glen Allen, and kind of shocking because Deep Run has not been hitting the baseball really well. Their pitching's outstanding, but they got 5 runs against a great starting pitcher, Glen Allen. So it's just about getting hot this time of year and seeing who puts it together, who can manufacture the runs. Other things going on. Freeman Girls Lacrosse, want to mention them. Only 1 loss on the year, Trinity Episcopal. Since we're at Tucker, I know we're running through a laundry list here, but there's just so much cool stuff. Tucker boys soccer, they're 9-2 right now.
Oh,
I don't know officially if that's the best record they've had through 11 games of the season. I remember one year they started off 5-0, but they legit are a very good team that could make a nice run in regionals depending on their draw. Yeah, they lost to Deep Run. They lost to Godwin. They lost to Deep Run 3-0 at home, and then just a little over a week ago, returned the favor, went to Deep Run and won 4-3.
Ooh.
I know. I was like, I wish I went to that one.
That's
that
a
was
good
a
one.
thriller.
Yeah.
That's the thing you get the most is like, how come you didn't go to this one? Well, I was at this one.
Yeah.
Highland Springs Verina baseball rivalry's been pretty good. They got Highland Springs came up on the higher end of that one, and I think last time we were at Verina, we were talking NFL draft. Did you get? And I think we both hit. Didn't we both predict kind of what my Giants and your Chiefs would do? We were pretty close.
Chiefs
First
got their
round.
wide receiver. Giants got their wide receiver, so I think we're both very happy with that. Different kinds of wide receivers, but and then we're also right about the Henrico guy that got drafted, Anthony. So he got drafted to where did he get drafted? I can't remember where, but
Now off the top of my head, I'm forgetting. I should have written it down.
I think it might have been the Panthers or someone, but
for some reason I want to say it was Atlanta, but lost in the fray was Atlanta's Michael Penix Jr. thing. So I will say this, though. I'm glad you brought up Henrico Kids, though, because it's not just the draft. Right after the draft, you're the undrafted free agents.
Right. Tons of them got signed in blast from the past. Billy Kemp, Highland Springs.
New York Giant. Welcome to the Giants, Billy Kemp.
Good luck, Billy. Hopefully you crack the roster, practice squad, something like that. That'd be great for him.
Worst case scenario, not worst case scenario. At least he could make like an NFL minimum early. Be in the practice squad, like you said. Yeah.
Now's the time just to grind and, earn your spot. So good luck to him. And I'm sure there are plenty of others, on that list of, guys that came through Henrico schools.
Yeah. And it's exciting seeing, you're like, I covered that guy. And then you're like, oh, that's why I have gray hair now, because he's in the NFL now of all things.
And then it's like their sons show up and it's like, then, it's over. Like when the Frank Gore Jr., Jerry Rice's son, it's like, oh boy.
That's a little much. And then when Reed Garrett, I covered you at Godwin. Oh, you're one of the best relief pitchers out there in the Major League Baseball right now. So that is crazy. Crazy cool talent here at Henrico County. That's it for us. For Dylan Garner, I'm Will Kaderli. We appreciate you tuning in to the Sportswire Spotlight.